Hello everyone, this is Jess from the Estevan Public Library, and today we are making paper-mache lanterns. For this project, you will need some tissue paper, you will need about 5 sheets, a balloon, a sponge or a brush, some string, some glue and water, and an electric tea light. You will also need some newspaper to protect your tabletop, a bowl, a marker, and a pair of scissors. Now this is optional, but if you want to add some fun shadow effects to your lantern when it's lit, you can also add some extra decoration like different colored tissue paper, some stickers, some newspaper or magazine cutouts, or some pressed flowers and leaves, which I'll show you how to make. Let's get started. To press flowers, gather flowers and leaves from your backyard or your garden. Using a sheet of printer paper, arrange the flowers as you would want them to appear when pressed flat. Take care not to let any of them overlap each other. Once you're done, grab a second sheet of paper and lay it over top of your flowers. Then, grab a thick book. Open it up closer to the back. Place your flowers inside the book and close it. You can leave them in the book for 2 to 3 weeks until they are completely dry, or for a quicker method, leave it inside the book for 20 minutes to half an hour and grab an iron. To quickly press flowers, set an iron to its lowest temperature on its driest setting. Once it's warmed up, remove your flowers from the book and place them on top of an ironing board or a tea towel. Keeping the printer paper over top of the flowers, run the iron over the paper for about 10 to 15 seconds. Then remove the iron from the paper and let the flowers cool for about 15 seconds. Repeat this process for about 10 minutes, checking in on the flowers every so often to see how dry they are becoming. After 10 minutes, or once your flowers are dry, remove the iron and shut it off. Your flowers should be dry to the touch and a little bit stiff. Set those aside until you're ready to use them. The first step to making your paper-mache lantern is to tear up your tissue paper. You will need between 3 and 5 sheets depending on how sturdy you want your lantern to be, but you can always add more tissue paper later. I cut mine up into about 2 by 3 inch rectangles, but you can cut them up or tear them into any size you like. I wouldn't go much bigger than this, otherwise they'll be awkward to put onto the balloon. But I also recommend not making them too small, otherwise they'll take a long time to layer. The next thing you will need is to blow up your balloon to the size you'd like your lantern to be. Once you're happy with the size, grab a marker, place a ring where you want the edge of your lantern to be. I'm going to make mine pretty tall. This is just a rough outline. If you decide you want to make your lantern a bit smaller, you can ignore it or make a new ring. There we go. So this will tell me where I need to stop adding paper-mache. Next, you'll need to make the paper-mache glue. There are a few different ways to make it, but for our paper-mache lantern, we're going to be using 1 part white glue and 1 part water. So to start, I have my bowl here. I'm just going to dump out much glue from here as I can, since this is only a 2-ounce bottle. I'm just reusing this bottle to add the same amount of water, since we'll need 1 part glue and 1 part water. You can also use a measuring utensil to ensure you have equal parts water and glue. Next, grab your sponge or a brush and mix your water and glue together. Keep mixing until everything is incorporated together, or it looks like you have very thin, watery glue. Before you start gluing, lay down some newspaper or an old tablecloth to protect your workspace. When you're ready to start, dip your sponge or brush into the glue and apply it to a small area on the balloon. Grab a square of tissue paper and place that on top of the glue. Use the sponge to lay the edges of the tissue paper flat. Repeat this process until the whole balloon is covered. Layer your tissue paper over top of each other to help build a sturdy lantern. Keep layering tissue paper until you're happy with the thickness of the lantern. Less tissue paper means more light will filter through, but it will make the lantern weaker. Once you're finished, grab some string and tie one end to the knot of your balloon. Find a place to hang your balloon to let it dry. Make sure to leave some newspaper underneath it to catch any dripping glue. If you're leaving your lantern plain, let it dry for overnight. If you're adding decorations, leave it until it's mostly dry. You can keep your Paper-Mache glue in an airtight container until you're ready to use it again. I let my lantern hang for a few hours until it was mostly dry, and then brought it down to add some decoration. I'm going to be adding my pressed flowers by adding some glue to an area, laying the flowers over top, and adding some more glue to secure it to the lantern. I'm also adding a square of tissue paper to secure the leaf to the lantern and to add a little bit of depth. While I'm using pressed flowers, you can use other items like different colored tissue paper, stickers, or newspaper and magazine cutouts to add some different fun shadows to your lanterns. When you're finished decorating your lantern, reattach a string to the end of your balloon and let it dry overnight. In the morning, your lantern should be completely dry to the touch. Next, grab a pair of scissors and gently pop the balloon. Gently peel back the remains of the balloon from the lantern. If it starts to cave in a little bit, move on to a different section. Usually the lantern will pop back out. Once the balloon has been removed, grab your scissors and trim around the edge of the lantern. Since the marker left a ring around my lantern, I'm going to trim around that to remove it. To make a flat bottom for your lantern, use a damp paper towel to lightly moisten the bottom of the lantern. Remove the paper towel as soon as you can press down on it. You only need a tiny bit of it to be flat. If you get it too wet, it will wreck the bottom. Let it dry for a few moments. If you want a hanging lantern, grab something sharp like a pair of scissors, a hole punch, or a thick needle. Measure out where you'd like your holes to be on the top of the lantern. Use your sharp object to create a small hole in your lantern. Be very gentle, as the lantern is pretty delicate. You will also want holes big enough to thread your string through. I started using a needle to mark the holes and then used scissors to help increase the size. Be careful not to poke yourself during this step. When you're finished making the holes, grab your string and add a knot to the end of it. Thread your string through the outside of the first hole. Pull it through and thread it through the inside of the second hole. Pull it through and add a knot to the other end of the string. All you need to do now is add your electric tea light. Once you're finished, you can find a place to set your lantern or a place to hang it. 2 other important things to note. Don't leave your lantern outside while it's raining, otherwise it may disintegrate. And please only use electric candles when lighting your lantern. Real candles may cause it to set on fire. Thank you all so much for joining me for this week's Take and Make. The written instructions for this project can be found in the video description below. If you enjoyed this and want to show off your work, be sure to tag us on your social media posts. I hope you can all join us for our next Take and Make, but until then, enjoy!